Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
You're like, no, it's a penis.
It's a penis, get it? I'm a genius, the first comedian to ever make an obvious analogy.
Oh my god.
Oh, welcome to Lady Journey.
Lady Journey. Oh, you
Welcome.
switched sweaters.
I did.
Classy.
Yeah, this is, I brought a few looks today, and this is one of my...
I did too, and they're on the bed right now.
That's okay. I like it. You're the friend that just has one sweater.
Which I do. I tend to just be like, that's my thing I like, and I will wear it until I hate it.
This is my sweater of that. Now, I love this sweater because it has no shape whatsoever. It's just like wearing a bag. It's like a body bag.
That's my
so
favorite
cozy.
style.
Oh,
You
just obscures my body.
Yeah, just belt it when you go out.
Oh my god, not even. I wish it was longer.
Yeah.
So funny. I'm like, I need to look thin. I need to look beautiful. And then I just wear like the most
shapeless. With my arm, I like it when your arms are like
yeah,
barely inside your
just
hands
a little
barely.
finger coming out. That's
yeah.
it.
You're like, hey, I'm tiny.
Hi. Oh no, I'm so small. Oh, I got lost in my sweater. Well, I wanted to tell you something actually, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but I am wearing a little eyeliner today.
You look amazing.
Thank you, because there's been a little bit of a development in my blepharitis journey, and this isn't even my personal journey.
I was thinking about how you're like, and I try to fit that into every conversation.
You knew it was only a matter of time before I brought it up.
Yes.
Well, if anybody out there has blepharitis, one of the things that's made a huge difference for me, which I always do this in the winter anyway, but the humidifier is really helping me out.
Do you think it was just dry? You were just
I
dry
know
eyeline?
that was a big part of it because I'm on birth control, and that's one of the big side effects of birth control is dry eyes.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
I had friends that did Accutane, and that also dried you out, but you also had to do birth control on top of that
That's extra dry.
for birth defects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, that's
Like,
so
but my
fun
skin's
about
amazing.
Accutane. You have to like sign and be like, I will not try to conceive a fetus at any point. Like, okay, awkward.
Yeah, that was how most teenage girls got to be on birth control, where I'm like, why don't we just put them all on birth control?
Just make it mandatory.
Come
I mean,
on.
I know that's
Controversial takes here, but
I know
love
it's
it.
like
Lady
a
Journey.
dystopian sci-fi communist novel where it's like you must take the pills. It's
Yeah.
like no, but I want a baby. It's like no, you'll get a master's degree. I love it.
Oh.
So you're doing angles. You're working on your angles right now.
Well, can I just tell you, we're in the business of our photo being taken all the time.
Yes.
Meet and greets, on stage. Can I just I see my nieces and nephews on online, and they know their angles. This younger generation with their photo taken because they've grown up on the social media. I don't know my angles. Am I up high? Like, I can't tell. There's not one photo that I'm like, that's amazing. I need a ring light within 3 feet of my face at all times.
Yeah, I know my angle is definitely not I'm on a stage and someone sitting is taking a photo straight up, because that seems to be a double chin effect for me every time.
Well, because we're always
Yeah, I'm like-
complaining, and our faces are like, can you believe it?
I know what, right. Well, my stand-up is like psychotic. I'm like, it's like, just tag me. Tag me where I'm like, white lady in Target, which is my new bit.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Well, no, somebody just used a photo for a promo, and I'm like, did you go into the second page of Google search to find this atrocious? It's like after a day of wearing a hat, so I just have the flattest butt part or
Oh my gosh.
middle part ever, and like, what? It's like they do it on purpose.
I
to
think
hurt
it's just
feelings.
people
It's
have
fucked up.
I think people have no. But I do love it when someone uses a photo of me from like 2009, like my headshot that I paid $45 for, where it's just like I'm standing in front of a fan.
Yeah, and
I'm
it
like,
seems dated because now that's not the look of headshots anymore.
Oh no, yeah, black and white. My
But
black and
yeah.
white headshot.
Oh my god! I
Yeah.
remember the first headshot that I took. This is pre Photoshop, and I just noticed that there's like a little black eye makeup booger right there, and you're like, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, angles. I can't help you because I rarely take good photos.
No, but we have friends that I'm like, what are you doing? 'Cause sometimes I'm like, they take photos really well. I feel like they represent well on photo, kind of better in real life. And I won't say any names, but there's amazing people that photograph really fucking well.
Yes.
And I think I'd rather photograph well.
Yeah,
and
because
be
that's when
ugly in real life.
that's when people see you. That's when people see you.
That's what we're promoting.
Yeah, it's a thing too, though. I think what you see on the social media is like the tip of the iceberg. You know, you see somebody with like a TikTok video that's like 45 seconds, and it like took them the entire day. Where
Yes.
it's like, oh, who wants to spend time being like, is it this?
Yes.
Anytime I post something, I'm taking like 100 photos, and it's like. And then I just get tired. I'm like, whatever.
Oh no, as much shit that all like people give the Jenners and the Kardashians where they're like, they don't even do anything. I'm like, do you know
They
how
are
long?
scientists.
Yeah, you're like, do you know how long it takes to find a photo that you like?
Yeah.
They're probably taking a ton and they're doing all their face tuning. Like they're
Yes.
doing a lot of it's doing that social media stuff is actually a lot of work. When we do our own social media, I think I would say I'm putting in close to 40 hours a week of like working on my social media.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot. And Lady Journey has a TikTok now, by the way,
Oh,
if anyone wants to follow us.
Great job.
Yeah.
Yes. We have
Follow
a
us on TikTok. And we're making, this is exclusive TikTok content that we're making, and it's really fun and goofy.
It is. It's like satirical. We like roast each other, like lady culture.
Lady culture and just goofy stuff. And then sometimes a little basic stuff. I did one
Yeah.
of my kitchen.
Hey, I love basic.
Love
In
it.
fact, I think I'm okay with being a basic bitch.
I'm okay with, I like to go with basic cunt, you know? I like to take it a step further and really be cruel.
Yeah. to myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by the way, we are also on iTunes now, so please give us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
If you haven't, even if you're like one of our YouTube people, hi. If you use iTunes, just go over and just click 5 stars. It takes 2 seconds. And I want to get to 100 reviews on iTunes.
Absolutely. I'm dealing with a fucking flaccid mic.
It's okay.
situation.
Yeah, that's okay.
I might just have to hold it.
Is it this?
Maybe. Keeps like lightly.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's
Tech.
just so familiar.
If we can get some tech in here,
Yeah.
we'll work on better stands. But the angles, my brother was telling me a story that made me laugh. A lot of times, like, you know, in New York or just in general, he lives in Austin, so it's like you'll get bachelorette party season if you're walking along like 6th Street. They're like, can you take our photo? I remember getting asked that a lot.
Yeah, and then you just
here.
get caught into a social contract where you have to take the photo
A
until
lot
they're
of them.
okay with
Yeah,
it.
and you're like, I have to go to work, and I don't give a shit about you people.
Right.
Yeah.
I just say no.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm like, no,
That's
sorry.
good. Because you're a basic cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. I'm like, I don't have time for this. And then
Absolutely.
it feels good.
Get a selfie stick.
Get a stick.
You can do a timer.
Yeah.
I like the timer. It's fun and it gets everybody involved and your face can relax instead of like when you do a selfie stick, that's another thing you're like this. I've never taken a great photo.
It,
Yeah.
But the I will say, like, I've been on the reverse of that where somebody's taking a photo of you and then you see it and you're like, "Oh God." You know, like
yeah.
My friend Dan Adderman, he wrote a book recently called Ira Spira Before COVID. It's a great book.
Oh.
I loved it.
I will
And I was
wait for the movie.
I wait for the movie. It's a great book, but I was like, he was taking a photo of me with it on my phone, so I couldn't take it myself. And then I was going to post it for him. And then like a month later, he's like, "Hey, did you ever post the photo?" I'm like, "No, because I looked terrible."
Absolutely. Yeah.
I could not. I was like,
Wow.
it was not. And guys, men don't have an eye for that, I don't think. Men are like, whatever.
I thought you looked great. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
I
Which
don't
of my
know.
chins looked better in that one?
Well, like, I was just, to go back to my brother, so these girls asked, and he went down below, and they, in unison, were like, no. And it was just really funny that, like, oh, yeah, we apparently Gen Z makes fun of Generation X and millennials and, like, boomers, because we all take our photo like this.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's also, like, not the greatest angle,
That's
too.
not a great angle either. Yeah, I don't want an angle of like, this is POV if you were standing on a ladder over me.
Yeah.
You know? Hey,
Hi.
I'm in a hole.
Yeah, I'm held captive down here.
Yeah, help.
Those are my headshots.
Yeah, it is tough though, because it's like that's the best angle where you're gonna get like the most flattering.
Yeah, because
But-
now it's like I find myself like chin out, and then that feels psychotic. They're like, I know it's gonna feel weird. I'm like, I think I've gone too far out.
Yeah.
And then my friend, Adrienne Appalucci, she was making me laugh. She's like, and then I try to. Now we're supposed to wear our ponytails tighter because it's supposed to be like a natural lift. And then I'm like, yeah, but then now I'm kind of like lightly thinning, so now I have to spray paint
yeah.
a hairline. You're like, it's
You're
just
creating more problems. Like now I have alopecia, actually.
you're just like, it's never ending. Like once I try to overcompensate and fix something else, then it's causing another problem somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course part of you is like, well, I don't want to care what I look like, but then you do.
You do, and it
It's like-
matters.
And
It matters.
everybody does. And it does matter. It does matter.
It does.
Oh.
No, that's my lady journey.
Well, I'm on a bit of a journey. I told you last week was Mike's birthday.
Yes.
So I got back to one of my old hobbies, which I haven't done forever, pie baking. I love
season.
pie baking.
It's the
And
season.
yes, and I wanted to do like a rustic thing for him because his birthday, he's got a November birthday. He's a Scorpio. He's insane. And classic Scorpio.
In Italian.
Yeah, and he loves when I make stuff for him. So I was like, oh, this is my big chance. I was gonna get a cake, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to do like a whole rustic thing. So when I do pie baking, I make a crust that's very tricky. It's a all butter crust, and these
You
are
have to-
so hard to make.
Yeah, because doesn't the butter has to be at like freezing cold temperature,
Yes.
but then you also have to knead it into the dough.
You have to cut it in, but you can't. The more you knead it in, the more the gluten in the flour starts
Shit.
breaking
Then
down.
I think that's where I fucked up on mine
Yeah.
last night.
So you have to do like a very specific technique, and it's very tricky, and it's like literally you're using 3 ingredients. It's the flour, the water, the sugar,
Yeah,
and the
it's
butter. 4.
yeah. And then if you do a crumble, you don't have to do the water.
That's the difference between a crumble, which is I find so much easier. But it's like, this pie baking, it's an emotional roller coaster because you're like, okay, I finally cut it in, and I did use a food processor this time, but I just have a mini, so I had to
A little bit at a time.
I did a little at a time, and
That's
then I
the
kind
New
of
York
like
way of
cut it
cooking.
in. Yeah, because who has like room for like a gigantic? I have a tiny kitchen. Check it out on the TikTok. But yeah, so the thing that is so intense for me is like when you finally roll the dough out and you can't go like back and forth. You just roll it out enough. Then you have to flip it into the pie pan.
Yeah.
Peel off. I always I roll it out on a little clear plastic wrap, so then I can flip it and peel it off. So I don't have to
Yes.
worry about it getting like stuck to the like cutting board or whatever I'm rolling it out on. And then when I did this one, it's like it didn't really fit the pie pan. I'm like, whatever. But the top is the one where you're like, this is a make or break moment, and it's a very high stress situation. I always like feel like I'm in the midst of like a great
debombing.
British bake off. Yeah. Yeah, like
Sweating.
I'm like, okay, here we go. I flip it and it came out gorgeous. But with this type of pie, though, you're never going to get like a lattice crust with this type of pie. You're never going to get like a beautiful, smooth, picturesque pie. It's always going to look like homemade and rustic.
Which is, I think, is fine.
Which
it's
is
a pie.
fine.
You fucking slap ice cream on it, whipped cream.
It's
you're good
about
to
the
go.
taste.
Yes.
This is a pie, and it does have a certain aesthetic to it, where it's like, okay, this is like a cottage. You
Yes.
know, it's like a little, but this is not like a food channel. And I think what I want to do going forward is like just kind of start to scratch the surface of like maybe making some pies with like a little more malleable like shortening, so I could, because I do want to do like a lattice crust, but this is the best tasting pie. But I also have a hack that I'm going to try out soon where I'm going to do an apple pie only using for the crust puff pastry.
The one
That's
that you
my
get
next big move.
at the store, like an apple turnover puff pastry.
Yeah,
kinda
you
thing?
get the puff pastry, you roll it out, you place it in the pan, you roll out another one, you put it on top. So much more easy.
Yeah.
Puff pastry's a little more expensive than like flour and butter,
Hey,
but
when
whatever.
When I do a quiche, I go get the frozen store, the frozen pastry.
Oh, yum.
It works just as good. It's
Yeah.
pretty decent.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, if you want to skip time on a pie, like I think getting a pre-made crust is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you're doing like a chocolate silk pie or something, you can always do like a graham cracker
Yes.
and butter crust.
Now, I have an issue with a lot of pies in America. I think we put too much sugar in our fruit.
Yeah, I do
It's
too.
always so sweet that I like the crust to have the salt,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of the salt
yeah,
with the
a little
sugar,
salty, yeah.
and then the tartness of the fruit with a little bit of sugar.
I always only use, when I do my apple pies, only use brown sugar. I never
Yes.
use white sugar in pie because I hate the taste of white
There's
sugar.
not
It's
flavor. It's
so
weird,
yeah.
right?
Brown sugar has like a richness to it, and it's you know, that kind of like nice smoky flavor. Or I've even made pies with like just honey,
Yeah.
and I love that. But like white sugar just tastes like nothing. It tastes like
No.
candy. I don't like it.
It's blah. Like
It's
there's
so blah.
I just feel like a lot of desserts that I've been eating lately, there's just too much sugar that I'm like, I don't know what I'm eating.
You
this
look at
is
a
just
pie
sugar.
recipe and it'll call for like a cup and a half of sugar or something insane.
I'll cut it
Yeah.
a little
Oh, yeah.
bit. I won't use
absolutely.
as much. And then I'll use more
Absolutely.
like cinnamon and
Yeah,
more of the herb stuff.
cinnamon. But I love an apple pie. I've done like a pear apple spice. I won a pie contest one year at the 4th of July for my pear apple spice at the Creek in the Cave.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, I called it it was called Life. What the hell
I will
was
put
it
a little
called?
I'll put a little timer music here.
It was called Life, Liberty, and the Pie Suit of Happiness.
Oh.
That was my name for it.
Clever.
Pear apple spice. I love anything spicy.
Oh my god, you know
Yeah.
what a vision for us would be if we blew up in Lady Journey
Oh,
to do a
Please leave a
pie
review.
contest in New York City.
that would be our live show.
Yeah,
That would be so fun.
absolutely.
But I know one thing that we're preparing for our Patreon subscribers. We're doing a big blowout where we're doing holiday party prep. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll do like a pie for the party because I've also done blueberry pie, which is like such a rare like treat.
Yes.
You love a blueberry pie. But you have to like cook down the blueberries, so it's kind of like a pain.
Yeah, well, I find the part of the pie process. Last night I made an apple crumble, which is
Mhm.
like I think a lazy pie making.
Yeah.
Because you just throw in as long as you kind of roughly get the
It's a working
ratios
girl's
right.
pie.
It's a working girl. The hard part is though is peeling and decoring
Yes.
like 20 apples.
Yeah, it's a lot of chopping. It's a lot of
Yeah.
chopping.
But you can at least they don't have the thing that's nice about it is like the pieces don't have to be perfection.
And the thing too with a pie, if you're doing a homemade crust, then you can really go for like the nice organic apples, you know, instead of getting like that bag.
Oh,
the
that's
bag.
what I got.
Whoopsie, sorry. Oh my god.
I didn't know the bag is bad. The bag is bad?
No. It's apple season. They're all good.
Well, I do have to say I had to cut off a few little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But I figured if I'm cooking the fruit, then, you know, it's fine. The texture's
it's
going to be
fine.
okay. Yeah.
It's fine. I do think though, like
We
for a
get
pie, like,
diarrhea after
oh my
this.
god, this is when we start a feud. We start completely separate podcasts, and we just beef with each other.
Oh, that would be so good for a Lady Journey.
We are thinking of starting a beef. If you guys want to recommend, we have a couple
another
people.
podcast out
If
there to
Louis
beef.
J. Gomez wants
my
to
God. We
say
get
something about
involved.
women.
we
Just
get involved
kidding.
in a Skink Fest feud.
Oh my god. You know,
Yeah.
but see that's not our crowd though.
No, but the best thing about it is they have no idea we don't care.
We actually I don't think they care either. I think
No. This is never going to cross their path in their algorithm whatsoever.
But I would love to challenge Louis J. Gomez to a pie baking contest.
You heard
And
it here first.
Whoever loses has to I'm gonna
do
say-
each other's podcasts?
Yeah.
Because it's like
We
a
would go on that
punishment on both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah. We would go on that podcast and be so harassed.
I know. Well, I mean, much props to the Legion of Skinks. I love that Legion of Skinks and Lady Journey will have a crossover.
We absolutely will.
It's because I can't. They are like such a dominant personality that it would be me just in silence in the corner,
Yes, I know.
chiming
me
in
too.
every
Yeah.
now and then.
Or just agreeing. Be
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's like really,
absolutely.
I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way before, but now I can see from a different perspective.
Thank you.
But let's get on to the main topic.
Oh my God.
I know.
We did both of our journeys.
We did both of our journeys, and our main topic is something I'm so passionate about. So passionate about reading, learning, and shitting on. Self-help. The world of self-help.
God, self-help. I think we've all fallen into that category in our lives of like, you know, I can't go to a hardcore therapy. I can't afford a life coach. Life coaching, I think, is actually a grift in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
in a weird way.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, some of them, it's like if somebody is offering you life coaching and then they're also trying to talk you into becoming a life coach, that's
red flag.
That's a red flag. That's a red flag.
That's
Yeah.
a red poinsettia.
Yes, yes.
leaf. Yeah.
Oh my God, is this fake?
It is.
I did not notice it.
It's all fake over. I can't keep
love
care
it.
of plants.
I
Look at
love
that
it.
one over there. It's
When I
dead.
came in here, I was like, I am so impressed by how gorgeous this looks. 'Cause I thought it was
vibrant.
real.
It's so
Yeah,
vibrant.
because I was telling you, I saw these at Home Depot, $2, and they were all looking rough.
Oh,
I mean, I
yeah.
think they were dead,
Yeah,
actually.
they're-
But I was like, but because it was a deal, I was like, should I get one?
Maybe I can resuscitate it.
Yeah, yes. It's like
Yeah.
the man that you want to change. I'm like, I can do it.
I've never been able to do that.
With a plant or a man.
Yeah, both. I love that we got a little sidetracked with the plants.
I know.
That's
great. But yeah,
But no, like self-help journey. It's like I'll just get a self-help book and everything will be fine again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, and I've read tons of self-help books, and some of them are more helpful than others, but I think for me, part of it is like when you just are constantly feeding your mind positivity like that, you do tend to like begin to like see things in a more positive perspective and create a more positive perspective. So I think that's part of it, is having like the mental discipline to be like, okay, my perspective is up to me. I'm not going to delude myself, but I'm also not going to choose a perspective that's not helpful to me. You know?
Absolutely. I always feel like with all of these things, there are times that I've taken a little piece of knowledge from each one.
Yeah.
And I say take what you need and leave the rest.
And leave most of it.
A lot of it
Yeah.
is garbage and weirdly, because you're also dealing. No one's that mentally well, right?
People are marketing, yeah, and I think that's like a trick of like marketing self-help is like, I did this and now I have so much. And it's like, well, okay, there are factors that you're not seeing. There's like a total survivorship bias.
Absolutely. It's always
all I
like
did-
white woman.
Yeah, like all I did was affirmations for 2 days and then my husband is rich. Like voila,
Yes. Like, because there was one that I read. I won't say her name, but if you email me, I'll definitely tell you, or maybe I'll just put it on the Patreon.
ladyjourneypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, or join our Patreon. It's just like, because she's been shit on and she just got kind of recently canceled, and I think she's just completely let go of her job. But like, I was reading one and she's like, you can never say no to yourself. And it would be like, one night I went drinking with my friends. I had cocktail hour and I didn't get a chance to work out that night. So when I got home, my husband was watching TV. I walked right by him and I went straight to the treadmill. And I put it on Instagram and my friend was like, oh my God, are you on the treadmill right now? And she's like, yeah, because I don't say no to myself. I'm like, that's an eating disorder.
Yeah. Because
That is crazy. Just like go have fun with your friends and just work out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing about self-help, because it's such a new thing, and even like psychology is so new to the point that we like actually understand like working through trauma and everything else. It's like people are just putting out their insane theories where it's like, I eat 1 almond a day. It's like something's wrong. Something is wrong. That's not a lifestyle. They're just like marketing their own issues as like the
Yeah.
way to do things.
Oh, the one with her, like her relationship with her husband was like kind of everything that you shouldn't do. And they promoted a couples retreat therapy, like we're the most amazing couple. And then they got divorced pretty shortly after that. You're like, what are you hawking?
Yeah.
That's why it's really hard to be like, I'm a lifestyle guru.
I'm a
No
lifestyle
one's life
guru.
is perfect.
No one has a perfect life, and you're creating this illusion and you're selling it and that's what people are buying. But one thing I can't stand about self-help, I find this so delicious, and it's so many people do this.
Yes.
One of the self-help books that I actually did find this book helpful to a degree was Dr. Joe Dispenza. I think that's what his name is. It's like doctor, and I'm using that term very loosely because the man is a chiropractor. And it's like, I don't think you should be able, he's like, and as a doctor, he just says it over and over.
Yeah.
This book was like,
red flag.
Yeah, this book
Yeah.
was called, I think it was called like You Can Change Your Life or something like that, but it was all about using a meditative process to help create like positive thoughts or something, and which I did it, but I will say it helped me have more positive thoughts in my life. It didn't make my life perfect, which is like what so many people are marketing. Like, all you have to do is buy my book and do this little 5-step process, and then all of your dreams will come true. Easy.
Yeah, and then when you don't, and it never does, because that's what I had a problem with when I still do a 12-step program for like drinking, and there was this time where I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to, and my life isn't feeling better, and then you start getting upset about it, and I don't think that's what you're supposed to be taking away from all this stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, hey, these are just like suggested guidelines.
That's the thing about self-help that drives me nuts, because they all market their books on like, if you do this, then you're going to be rich and famous, just like me, like Tony Robbins. All I had to do. And, that's just not the case.
Yeah. And his like technique all these techniques don't work for everyone on an individual basis. Like, we were talking about this the other day. And at one of his seminars, a woman was talking about like a hard time. She had horrific childhood trauma, probably like
he's
sexual
just
abuse.
Shouting at her in a group of people to like let it go, and she's like, "Okay,
you're the problem." And you're like, "This is actually a really deeper issue, and like not a really great way of also handling this in front of everybody."
Yeah, and I saw something where like a trauma therapist weighed in on that, and she was like, "This is actually the absolute wrong thing to do." But have you ever read Awaking the Giant Within, or whatever Tony Robbins' book is?
No, I watched his doc, and I don't think he's like a bad guy, I'm sure. But then I'm like, but is he? I don't know.
I got the book because this is what I also do too. I'll like get in this like fervor where I'm like, I'm gonna get myself up to that next level, and all I need to do is download 5 self-help books to my Kindle. And so I got the book, and first of all, I think he wrote it when he was in his 20s when he wrote it, and I was reading it, and I'm like, you can tell grammatically the writing is so poor. I mean, it's so poor that you're like, oh my gosh, this is somebody with no experience, like
putting thoughts together on paper.
Yes, it's borderline incoherent. But basically, his whole thing is there's 2 ways you can motivate yourself. You can either motivate yourself by making yourself like feel excited and feel good, or you can motivate yourself with this like extreme fear of what your life is going to be like if you don't reach your goals.
That's where I'm living.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I mean, while that's motivating, it's like, what's the end game here? Is the end game to be like this like self-help guru who's profiting off of the like the promise of helping people create perfect lives? Because that's not really what I'm going for. And that doesn't really work, like even in like the entertainment industry, for example. Like you can be a workaholic, and that's actually detrimental to creativity, first of all, but there's no guarantee that that's going to get you to the next page.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't talk about like, and this feels like it diminishes people that have had success, and I don't think it does, but I think a lot of it is like, there's quite a bit of luck involved.
Yeah.
Do you have that thing that people are drawn to? You could be saying the same. A lot of people say the same message and have done it before the person, but for some reason, the person that managed to skyrocket, it just stuck better.
And I think that's the case for like Tony Robbins, for example, too.
Yeah, he's like an interesting looking guy. He's super tall. He has weird bone structure.
Yeah.
You're just like kind of fascinated by him by looking at him. And then he has like this strong presence.
He has a strong presence, and his documentary was like pretty exciting. He's like all like jumping on the trampoline like a psycho.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Pump himself up.
Yeah, how blue he was. And then you find out also he's been divorced like 3 times.
Yeah, well, he also had a scandal where he was like he basically kind of got Me Too'd, but I think he like kind of survived it.
Yeah.
Where he was like constantly nude in front of his female assistants. He would have them like bring him a towel. He'd be like walking through the office naked in his like home office.
Wild.
Yeah, and it's
wild.
It's like, this is the person who's I'm supposed to be like making because I think his method works if you want to be a guru to come up with your own and like lifestyle thing that people are going to buy your book because they think it's going to help them feel better.
Yes.
I think that works for that.
Yeah, it's kind of as we said, like a kind of like a grift.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
it's a pyramid scheme. And
absolutely.
I wouldn't think that so many of these things were pyramid schemes, especially like in terms of like you know, if it wasn't like people like Dr. Joe Dispenza claiming that he's a doctor when he's not. It's like, okay, we call chiropractors doctors and you call a dentist doctors. That doesn't mean a dentist is a doctor.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not a doctor. It's like somebody that, and if he is so, because he claims, Dr. Joe Dispenza, again, while his book was somewhat helpful for me, it was founded on a lot of pseudoscience. But, you know, he claims that he's an expert in neuroscience basically, but he's a chiropractor.
So how?
It's like you're not a doctor of neuroscience. He's just researched it a lot, I guess.
I don't know. I've watched a lot of true crime docs. It doesn't mean like, you know,
Yeah,
like,
it's
weird.
like it's like I've also researched, you know, whatever. Now, one guy that I love, who this guy is legit. What is his name? Doctor. He's actually a doctor. He's both a neuroscientist and an Eastern meditation practitioner.
Is this Sam Harris?
No, not Sam Harris. His name is I may have to look it up later and put it in the show notes and link to it. But he has a nice podcast with his son Forrest.
Okay.
And it's, oh my gosh, I can't think of the guy's name. But he has a whole book that he has written, and it's called Meditations to Change Your Brain, and it's all about how using meditation can actually help you develop positive neuro pathways, and it's like supported by his own actual research.
I believe that because I do feel like I live in a negative space, and I've always felt like that's kind of held me back, and I do realize that I need to be more of a positive person, because when you do hang out with a negative person, it's not the greatest.
It's such a downer.
It is a
such
downer, and it's kind of contagious, and then it gets into other
Yeah.
people's mind that I'm like, I think it's okay to have some thoughts, but like I don't think it's great to live your life.
Yeah.
Like
well,
that.
I just try to choose for myself. Well, first of all, I do have one of my close friends from college. Hi, Ashley. I hope you're listening to the podcast. I did send it to her, so hopefully she made it to this episode.
Yeah.
She was in the theater program with me at Butler, and she kind of had like a really interesting trajectory where she was also an anthropology major. Anyway, fast forward 14 years, she's now a doctor of neuroscience.
Okay.
And she's actually a legit neuroscientist.
See, I prefer to listen to people that are like that, like have done scientific research, done tons of surveys and like data research of the human mind. That is going to make sense. Like I will believe that.
Versus,
like, if you manifest or she said affirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what she said, because I was asking her all about it, and I was telling her about Meditations to Change Your Brain. I can't remember the guy's name again, but if you just Google that book, you can find it. And she said, there's so little that we know. There's truly so little that we know. So, like, first of all, anyone purporting to know everything is like you're just making up half of it. But she said the one thing that you can take with you is whatever you put in, you get out. Whatever you feed your mind perceives it. It's always seeking confirmation bias and everything. So it's like, that's why people say like gratitude is like the foundational self-help practice, where it's like, if you're like, oh my God, I'm so grateful I'm healthy. I'm so grateful my parents are doing well. Like all these things, then you start to perceive, versus if you like allow those negative thoughts of like, I'm never going to make it, I'm a failure, you know, then you start to perceive that. And so, and I really that's the one thing I try to keep in mind. Yeah, but sometimes you forget it. You just forget it and you fall into a spiral. And
absolutely. Especially when it feels like your brain has just been wired that way.
I think your brain is wired that way because you're like throughout. And now I'm making stuff up, but
as we do on Lady
as
Journey.
I always do. But throughout like evolutionary psychology, like you're more evolved to like pay attention to threats, because the threats are going to keep you from like living. Versus like appreciating nice things that you have. It's like, well, that doesn't really serve
you.
Yeah. It doesn't serve like a goal in terms of like helping you like survive in the forest.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So that's good that you have like a few, because there's one that I like is the acceptance.
Yes.
Kind of just being like, all right, this is who I am. I'm not going to wake up early in the morning. That's just not what I do. And I work in these different hours, but I still get stuff done. And then the second one is, I like this one. And this is just a trick. And it's hard to find tricks, but when you are doing something for yourself, reward yourself that goes along with that. So like, say if you're wanting to work out,
Mm-hmm.
if you manage to run, get yourself some nice sneakers, buy a nice workout
Totally.
outfit, get yourself a
Totally.
nice mat, like that kind of, instead of like, I'll just reward myself with like maybe like a decadent food item or something. But
Mhm.
that goes along with what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's really nice. I think it's really important to like give yourself rewards and celebrate.
Yes, I love I reward all the time.
I have a hard time with it, especially sometimes if I do like a comedy achievement. It's like, especially as I've gotten like, different wonderful things have happened to me, like as I have gone on in my career, I always had this like feeling like if I get like a certain thing, then I'll be happy. If I get this, then I'll be happy. And then the happiness never really came with it. It was such like an eye opener for me.
So crazy.
Of where I actually almost feel the opposite, where it was like, well, what was that?
Absolutely. I feel like the few times I've done late night, it's always been told. I mean, it feels great when you're doing it, and I do have gratitude for it. But I have to tell you, I think I put too much emphasis on that being what was going to make me happy, and I had probably one of the darker depressions after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like something too of like, I actually do really like Teal Swan, even though she's batshit insane. Some of the stuff she says, you're like, what? First of all, I think she's like claiming to be from another planet, which love it.
That's
Love it.
what I'm on
That is
board
a
for.
journey. That is a journey.
I'm impressed.
But she's got a great thing about, I listened to a lot of her stuff over this past winter when I was just doing like a little self-healing time, and she's got a great thing about like actually honoring your negative emotions and not forcing, like when you are like, I thought this was going to make me happy and it's not, and I'm feeling sad, like finding a way to work through it instead of like forcing the positivity, because it's like that toxic positivity that some people have, which is so psychotic.
I was trying to explain this and I couldn't figure out the right way of saying what toxic positivity, because it's true, like you should actually feel your feelings of that sadness or whatever, like the negative, because it's
honor your emotion. Yeah,
it's your mind telling you something about like why you don't like this.
Yes.
Yeah,
your mind is sending a sign for you, and if you don't like really sit with those emotions and figure out, instead you're bulldozing yourself. She has a whole podcast or like YouTube episode on bulldozing, which I realize I do all the time, where it's like, well, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but now whatever, I'm moving on and now I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I'm out and I'm like, hi,
I've got a new thing.
Yeah, I'm doing really great. And we've all met those people, especially in like the entertainment world, where it's like there's such like a price put on like being the fun person. It's like either you're like the kind of like negative bitch, whatever, and you own it, or you're like the fun person, and there's not really a lot of room to be like, I'm kind of spiraling right now. And have that like social vulnerability, because it's like, well, people just don't care.
Oh, absolutely. I've decided to not like express some of those feelings a lot of times, especially in the comedy world, because then you get this where you're like, yeah, just like, I don't know where I'm at, and people are like, why?
Well, I just did a special. Like, okay.
Yeah, we're like, cool. All right, I'm gonna just pull a Ted Alexandro and sit at another table.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, bye.
Well, that's the thing about, I think toxic positivity is something I see often in people that are, first of all, women.
What would you say? Can you give a definition of it?
I think toxic positivity is when you are, especially maybe because you're in self-help and you're like, I'm choosing positivity. And what you're actually doing is suppressing negative emotions, and you're faking feeling positive when you actually aren't.
Yes.
And you're faking it because you feel like, maybe because of some kind of magical thinking where you think like if you're negative, you're attracting negative. If you're positive, you're attracting positive. And that whole like secret nonsense. Maybe because of that, you feel the need to fake toxic or fake positivity, and it actually is detrimental. Not only is it detrimental to you, but it's actually like extremely off-putting to other people that can sense it, which not everybody can, but like a lot of people. A lot of people are like, okay, because we've all met that person that's like, hey, okay, I'm working on a sketch. I have a thing.
How did you get that? Can I get that email? And you're like, oh my God.
It's like a very inorganic interaction that's super off-putting.
One of the few self-help books that I liked was the Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I think I read part of that on tape, but yeah, I remember the premise of that is like pretty actually down to earth and kind of focusing in on yourself.
Yeah, it's like a genuine approach of like, kind of just being like, oh, you don't like this, or and a lot of stories in the science of just like you do it for yourself kind of thing, and not like catering to other people.
That's really nice. That's really nice.
Because it's so hard, and especially because I think we're in a business of like, I hope you like me, because this is what it matters that you do, and I feel like sometimes I'm just giving off that like.
And especially for women, I think especially for women, it's like you're always being judged on who you are as a person. Even in like these people in like high level corporate jobs, it's like you are your brand. And it's like if someone doesn't like me, then that negatively impacts my career. And who knows how, but
it does.
But then paradoxically, having that type of mindset undermines your self-confidence. And so, then you're coming off to people as like this nervous person, which is like totally my MO.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no confidence, whatever. I don't care about that.
I know,
but
I'm like, can I just be the person that has no confidence?
Well,
what's wrong with that?
There, I think there's something powerful to embracing that you're a little awkward sometimes. And I don't mean like you, I'm saying this about me. But if I find that like when I'm awkward, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just a little awkward
Deal
sometimes.
with it. Yeah,
that's
I'm
just
sorry.
who I am. And I just kind of like let that go instead of like trying to be this
is
like
that okay? I'm sorry. Did that make
perfect
you
person. Yeah, like, oh my God, I said something weird.
Yeah, because I find that if you like the next day, if you start even like you feel like you need to apologize, but you don't, and it kind of makes it worse, and then that person has to be responsible for your insecurities, and you're like burdening them with your shit.
Yes, and we've all had that person that's like putting it on you to make them feel
okay.
I'm
a mess. You don't want to hear from me, and you're like, I don't now. I don't. This is awful. Like you're making me feel bad.
Yeah. It's like first of all, no one notices.
Yeah.
Second of all, no one cares. But I did see something. I actually saw this on TikTok, which I know it's like weird. It's very weird to get these like self-help snippets from TikTok.
That's where I get all I get therapy these days.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I gotta say, it's cheaper than BetterHelp. But it said that when you there's something to this. I read a social anxiety technique that was similar to this. It said when you find that you're kind of spinning out in your head in a social situation, it's because you're somebody who is very perceptive, very sensitive. You're often overwhelmed, and you're always up here. You're always up here in the throat and in the head. You're always in your head, literally. But what you need to do is actually drop down to your root chakra. Literally, just if you're doing like a mind body thing, like think of like the floor of your pelvis and just think to it. And that actually grounds you. And that's actually super similar to a technique I learned of when you're having social anxiety. If you actually start to physically look at something and like counting this, it takes you out of you focus away from this craziness that's happening in your mind.
Oh, yeah. I also find just like, as we said, sometimes we get nervous at certain venues. If I go there slightly a little bit earlier and just socialize. Just get out of the head a bit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just like at home stewing in your own nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, women tend to have social anxiety, I think, in like these settings where it's like very male dominated. But I've just had so many bad experiences. I'm sure other women have had this in other like corporate or like in the IT world where it's like a lot of men, where it's like you're going to your work with the intention of networking.
Yeah.
But you're not really able to do that because you're not in this boys club. And then you also have to be careful of how you present yourself to other people so as to not seem to be like flirting with them in any way.
Oh, yeah. Apparently that was like the definition of patriarchy by well-known like feminist philosopher of just like men maximize themselves and we have to minimize ourselves so men don't feel minimized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say that we talked about Scott Rudin in the last episode.
Yes.
And I was saying to you.
I think that's his name.
It is.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is. Meanwhile,
we could just throw it out there.
We're like starting a rumor about like some guy that works in like marketing. He was awful.
I'm sure that guy's awful too.
But that would never happen. That a woman would never be able to get away with that behavior for that long because like some man would feel like totally off put by it and then like challenge it earlier.
Yeah, or she wouldn't even be able to rise the ranks.
Right.
They'd be
like, she's a
lady.
bitch. Yeah.
She's crazy, homeless person.
But this is the last thing I want to say about self-help, which is one thing that I don't like about it. I like all that stuff about like what you feed your brain puts out. And it's the same way if like what you feed your body, you know, it's like if you're eating well, if you're eating the foods, you know, that are right for you, whatever your conditions are, you feel good.
Yeah.
And if you're like listening to, you know, if you're affirming yourself, if you're doing positive thinking, you feel well. And that goes to like the neuroscience of like what you put in, you get out. But there's like so many self-help things that are just like so like The Secret is one where it's like all you have to do.
Is it called The Secret?
Yeah,
that's like a weird thing to like throw out.
It's
like,
a
this
secret.
is the only thing that nobody knows, and we're gonna gatekeep it.
Yeah, and all you have to do is buy our DVD.
Yeah, fuck
for 12.
you.
Yeah, it's like, oh please. But it's like the whole point of The Secret is like attracts like. If you think positive thoughts, then you're gonna have all your hopes and dreams come true.
Yeah.
And if you think negative thoughts, and there's something to that. There is actually a grain of truth in that, where if you are a confident person and you think like, I can achieve something, you're a million miles closer to achieving it than if you think I'll never be able to do that. You know, it's like that's the obvious. Like,
it's a mindset.
It's like it's mindset, but it's like that doesn't. They're basically selling that if you employ our magical thinking technique,
yes,
then you're gonna have whatever you want. And it's like that's something that like psychologists have to like steer crazy people away of like, you know, thinking that like, you know, spells work.
Yeah, because it's also like, is this really happening to people that live in like horrific poverty stricken? If you just had positive thoughts.
Right. It's like all you have to do is have positive thoughts and then you won't be like in a war torn.
They're like, I don't have water.
Yeah.
We don't have water.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't work on the most basic level.
Yeah. It comes from like those affirmations feels like they come from a place of privilege.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just it's so goofy to be like, well, just keep it positive. And that goes back to like the toxic positivity thing too, where it's like, I just have to be positive. If I like let my shadow side come up, then I'm not going to get like my promotion.
I know. And you're just like, I'm getting beaten by my husband.
It doesn't work like that.
I know. It's like, I think it works once you have like a healthy mindset to healthy-ish. And also you live in a place that's like healthy.
Yeah. I mean,
shelter and then your food.
Yeah, it's like living in America. You're already like in the 1% of like everybody in the entire planet.
Yeah,
or I think it's like the top 5% or something. We always complain about like, oh, the 1%, but it's like we're in the top 5%.
Yeah, we're like actually pretty close to the top because like the bar is actually really low.
The bar is low.
Yeah,
the bar is low. So that's our talk about self-help.
Yeah, I hope that helped you guys. And Katie and I will be writing a book.
We will be writing a book. We're overcommitting to it now. That's going to be... No,
I do want to write a self-help, but a self-help book of it like, you don't even have to get this book.
Don't get this book.
Yeah, don't even get this book.
Yeah. Well, there's something that's really comedic actually about the complete lack of self-awareness of these books. You know?
They're fucking psycho to be like, I'm taking calls today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and you know, I've read so many self-help books and it's like I will get the book and I'm like, this was a waste of money because I just got taken in by the promise that this was going to fix my life.
Yeah.
And actually nothing has helped me more than going to therapy.
Yes.
Going to therapy and doing all that work alongside it actually got me to a place where I went from like being chronically depressed to feeling more like emotionally stable.
Oh yeah.
So.
I mean, all that stuff is good because you actually have to like, once you start taking inventory of your life, you kind of see what your role is or like what you're letting in.
Right.
How you're playing a part of it. It's the self-awareness. And then also being like, yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like this and it's making me miserable, but I thought that I had to do it.
Yeah. Self-help is the same. Self-help is so similar to me than like so many different things I've seen in the entertainment industry. Like if you want to be an actor, all you have to do is spend $6,000 on going to night school. Then you have to pay to meet these agents, you know, or if you want to be in comedy, all you have to do is take a comedy class. Then you have to take 8 improv classes. You know, it's like there's thousands of dollars down the drain to fuel the industry.
Yeah.
When actually all you really need to do is have discipline and practice.
Yeah. Keep your head down and work.
Yeah.
Lady Journey.
Lady Journey. Thanks
Thanks,
for listening,
guys.
everybody. This was a long one.
I know. Join our Patreon, subscribe to our YouTube channels, like and review us, and subscribe to our iTunes podcast, Lady Journey Podcast.
And just enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.